I'm joined now by Simon Marks, President and Chief Correspondent of Feature Story News, to take a look at all that has been happening here in Washington and really moving forward. You know, we had this late-breaking news of this Comey memo. Look, he's trying to meet with the Turkish president, do all these other things in preparation for his overseas trip. Are these domestic problems overshadowing what he's trying to do with his foreign policy?
Absolutely and completely. This is a White House that is not just enveloped with one layer of chaos. This is now chaos upon chaos upon chaos, crisis upon crisis upon crisis. And this latest revelation, reported initially by the New York Times, now confirmed by other news organizations here, that James Comey kept detailed notes of every conversation that he had with President Trump, and that those notes are now gradually being made public. That is leading already on Capitol Hill to Republicans to begin the process of distancing themselves from President Trump. Several Republicans now calling for James Comey to come and testify publicly up on Capitol Hill, attempts to subpoena any documents that he or the Department of Justice may have. This is just an enormously grave and perilous development for President Donald Trump, and his governing agenda at this point is going to take a backseat unless and until he can find a way of overcoming all of this.
And look, his supporters say he hasn't had enough time. He's early in his presidency, trying to fulfill his campaign promises. Look at all the leaders that he's met just in this short amount of time that have come to the United States to meet him. But looking ahead, he has this huge trip coming up with Saudi Arabia, Israel, Europe with the G7 summit. NATO, should he cancel this trip?
I mean, I suspect they will not cancel it, because I suspect that to do so would be an extraordinary display of weakness on the part of the president. But there is tremendous danger in going ahead with it. Imagine a situation where he's traveling next week to Saudi and the other countries that you mentioned, and James Comey back here is testifying publicly on Capitol Hill and basically calling the president of the United States a liar. Every single reporter traveling with him is going to be chasing that story, not the foreign policy stories that the White House would much rather that they would be covering. And there is tremendous risk that while he is traveling overseas, he continues to hemorrhage support among Republicans on Capitol Hill. The future of the Trump presidency will not be decided by the president. It will not be decided by his Democratic opponents. It will not be decided by people who didn't vote for him. The future of the Trump presidency will be decided by Republicans on Capitol Hill, and tonight he's got a huge problem with them.
So when you look outside the United States, how are these leaders around the world viewing this, digesting it, trying to figure out where they stand in their relationship with the United States?
Look, I think inevitably they have to be very wary of conversations and meetings that they have with President Trump. And to be fair, many of them were wary for a good long while before all of these revelations started piling on top of the White House. The sharing of classified information with the Russians by the president, information we now understand was provided by the Israeli government, that puts a real pause in the minds of intelligence agencies that share intelligence with the United States, that start saying, well, can we trust him? Not just to keep America's secrets, but to keep our secrets if we then transmit that information to the United States. So world leaders are going to be coming under pressure from their own constituencies to keep him at arm's length, to keep him at a distance. And that's also going to make life very troublesome for him on this international trip.
America first, right?
Well, that was, of course, what he said was going to be the forefront of his policy. Everything he did was designed to make America stronger and designed to deliver on the promises that he made to his core voters in the Trump heartland. The problem he's got now with them is that if you look at the polling data that's being conducted, their support for him is also beginning to sag.
Simon Marks, thank you so much. We appreciate your perspective.
Thanks, Elaine.